It's been an ambition of mine for ages now to take my own aircraft and fly it out of Australia to a brand new country. I always figured there'd be a huge sense of pride landing your aircraft in a new country, getting that stamp in your passport, knowing that you were the one entirely responsible for piloting an international flight. My problem is that I live in Australia, which is a long, long way from anywhere else. Head south, you've got nothing but the Antarctic. Go west, it's all ocean. Head east, you've got a long over-water flight to New Zealand, and then again, it's all ocean, which really only leaves heading north to leave Australia and flying into the continent of Asia. My other problem though is that I live on the south coast of Australia, and even just to get to the northern coastline from Melbourne, it's almost 1,800 nautical miles. That's the same distance flying London to Egypt or New York to Mexico. And because everything is so far away, over the years, well, it's just been easier to fly my aircraft in and around Australia, never actually taking it outside of its own home continent. That is until today. Tomorrow actually, until now. Tomorrow I'm making my way across the heart of Australia right up to the top, something I've done before, but this time I'm not going to stop when I get there. This time I'm going to keep heading up, I'm going to leave Australia, and I'm going to go right over the top. So it's the night before departure, and there's a whole bunch of things that I'm getting ready with the aircraft right now. Mainly, the job is to load the aircraft, but also take it for a very quick test flight. This is the spare life jacket that I got repacked. If you watch my other channel, you would have seen me doing that. And then I'm also checking everything that I've got on the back seat here that I'm going to need. So I've got my grab bag with all my safety gear. That's my life raft, which I'm going to need because we are flying over water. Cutting tool. I've got a strong light for signalling. EPIRB. Bag of snacks, very important. The other bits I have to get ready is the YouTube side of everything. This is the Hero Max, or the 360-degree camera. That's the one that sits on the right-hand wing. My regular GoPro that goes inside the cockpit so I can talk to you and show you what's happening inside the cockpit as we're flying. My drone, I've got spare lenses, battery packs, charging things, cables, all the very unexciting stuff that you have to take with you if you're planning a trip like this and you want to actually film it. Quick test flight. Okay, everything's good, works as it should do. I'm just going to pack up the aircraft, put it back in the hangar, go back home, get some rest before the big trip tomorrow. 5:20 in the morning. I've got a departure time set for 6 AM. Everything on the aircraft is done and checked. I'm ahead, but that's good. That's where I want to be on this flight because I've got a lot of flying ahead of me today. Also, can't really feel my hands. It's good to know that the further I go today, the warmer it gets.
About an hour and a half now into the first leg, and I'm just coming up to the border of Victoria and New South Wales. If you've watched this channel for a while, you'll know I go on about the Murray River. I always get excited about crossing the Murray River. It's just a really significant kind of, well, it's a physical, literal border between my home state and then leaving the home state and going further afield. But yeah, we're coming up to the Murray River in a second. It's just been the most beautiful flight so far. I'm sitting at 6,000 feet. I could go a little bit higher, but there's absolutely no need. I'm getting a little bit more power out of the engine so I can get a little bit more ground speed, and it's just nice and smooth down here, and it's beautiful. There's no clouds, as you can see. I did do that on purpose. I did know today was going to be a really good day for flying, and hopefully the further we get on as well, the tailwinds are going to pick up a little bit more because there's a low pressure system down in the southeast of Australia at the moment, and that's what's passed through and actually dumped all of this water. So it'll be interesting flying across the desert today, because I actually think we're going to get a lot more greenery in the desert than we normally do flying across the desert, just because there's been so much rain the last couple of months here in Australia. Then we're just about to pass from here in the state of Victoria. This is going to be New South Wales. and we'll only be in New South Wales for a short period of time, and then after that into South Australia. And there it is, the Murray River, the mighty Murray River, a lot of people here in Australia call it. That's beautiful, hey?
Echo Yankee Zulu, Melbourne Centre.
Echo Yankee Zulu, go ahead.
Echo Yankee Zulu, QNH now 1023. I will lose you shortly on VHF. Contact Centre 121.2 at time 50.
1023 and 12120 at time 50. Okay, Zulu. With the long day of flying I've got ahead of me today, I've worked out it's about 9.5 hours of flying today, actual flying. That doesn't include the time on the ground for refueling. And it's easy to get really caught up in the huge distance that I've got to travel today. My beautiful and very smart wife, who I was telling this last night, just said, well, just break it down into small parts. She says, just fly the first flight and just focus on that, then fly the second flight and focus on that. So the irony of her telling me that is when people say to me, oh, how do I get into aviation? I want to become a Qantas captain. I always say, well, that's good, but break it down into smaller chunks. Sometimes it's amazing how you can give advice to other people but not take it on board yourselves. And so I am breaking down today into manageable components, and the only thing I care about so far on this leg is just getting to destination number one. What happens after that happens after that. I also know that my wife generally doesn't watch these flying videos, so I can let her know that she is right without her knowing that I know that she is right. But yeah, Jackie, you were right. Melbourne Centre, Echo Yankee Zulu, contacting you on 121.2. I'm not getting a response at the moment. I'll try again in a couple of minutes. This is where you start to doubt yourself, doubt the frequencies. 1212 is correct. I think what it is I'm getting some shielding from, that's the Flinders Ranges up ahead of us at the moment. I think I'm getting some shielding on the VHF signal across those mountains, and I should be able to get in touch with him before I get to Leigh Creek. I know I can definitely get that signal at Leigh Creek, so I'll just keep going at this altitude until I can contact him, and then I'll start a descent into our first stop. We're going to overfly the airfield and do a kind of 3 right-hand turns into runway, I did just brief it, I promise, runway 29. Leigh Creek traffic, Cirrus Echo Yankee Zulu is 10 miles to the southeast on descent, passing through 5,600. Inbound, estimate circuit time 19. At this stage we'll be looking to join overhead for a right-hand circuit, runway 29, Leigh Creek traffic. Echo Yankee Zulu is visual with Leigh Creek, cancel Starwatch.
Echo Yankee Zulu, Leigh Creek, Starwatch, Jim landing.
As well as refueling the aircraft and having a quick pit stop for myself, a couple of other points of order. I need to put in a flight plan for the next leg now. This is going to be a nice simple flight in terms of navigation, in that it's just direct to the next airport, but a pretty interesting flight in terms of distance because, well, it's the longest flight of the trip. As regional airports go, this one's actually not too bad. Like, it's no Banyan, FBO and Fort Lauderdale Executive in America, but we've got a vending machine, a little area to sit down and relax, toilets. What more do you want? Now, since recording that last quick scene, I've realised that I don't actually have an internet connection here on the ground. But what I can do, because I'm just flying VFR now, so visual flight rules, I don't need air traffic control permission to do this flight. So I'm actually going to take off, call up air traffic control, let them know what I'm doing, and nominate what's called a SAR time, or a search and rescue time, for my arrival into Tenant Creek. If I don't get to Tenant Creek by that time, then air traffic control will try and reach me, then they'll try and search for me and escalate basically eventually until they can find me in the aircraft. But I'll do all of that once I'm in the air, because I don't have internet. You can tell we're not in Melbourne anymore.
Leigh Creek traffic, Echo Yankee Zulu is rolling, runway 02, up with departure, climbing 8,500, tracking northbound. Leigh Creek. Very well, Leigh Creek, and hello desert bumps. Okay, Zulu, just departed Leigh Creek. We're tracking direct Tenant Creek, passing 3,200, climbing 8,500. Just like to see if I can get VFR flight following for as much of this leg as possible.
Echo Yankee Zulu, will advise don't have you on ADSB as yet, so I'll let you know when I see you.
Understood, and thanks very much. Echo Yankee Zulu. Funny how on long trips like this, little things can make you really excited. I have been looking forward to breaking open my sandwich that I made last night, well, for most of that first flight, to be honest. Flying right over the top of Lake Eyre today. This is Australia's lowest point in the whole of the continent and the largest lake in Australia as well. It is so stunning flying over this. Melbourne Centre, Echo Yankee Zulu contacting you on 1207.
Echo Yankee Zulu, I've got you back on ADSB now. Identified, area QNH 1020, verify level.
Echo Yankee Zulu, QNH 1020, and we are now maintaining 8,500 on that QNH.
Echo Yankee Zulu, thanks. Look forward to seeing the video. Cheers.
Thank you, mate, appreciate it. There you go, nearest airport in that direction. Just a short 107 miles away. We're right in the heart of the desert now. And this line that we're about to cross over here is the border between South Australia and the Northern Territory. There we go. Welcome to the NT. I know how much you guys have enjoyed fuel chat in the past on this channel, so just very quickly, this is the fuel log that I've been keeping. This is the departure column, so I departed at 2300 UTC. Then half an hour later I do my first fuel tank change, so I started on the right and then I switched to the left tank. And I calculated there I used 9 gallons in the first half an hour. Then an hour later I switched back across to the right tank, and you can see there I've used 22 gallons in total. That's for the total trip, so 11 gallons for that last hour. And then just a few minutes ago, which was an hour later again, then I switched back to the left tank. The total fuel used was 35 gallons, so for the last hour I used 13. I also write the next time on here, so I've got 0230, so I know when I'm going to do the next change, and I also write down the tank that I'm going to change it across to. So, and on the avionics, I do have a fuel quantity little display here which shows me what's in the left and the right, but it's not always the most reliable just because of the sensors in the wing tanks. So I use this up here. This is from the fuel totalizer. It shows me how many gallons of fuel have actually been used on the trip so far, and that's what I'm using for total fuel use. If you remember Echo Yankee Zulu as well, you remember the old fuel gauges used to be here, just above the fuel selector switch. That's gone now because it's all digitized on the Garmin panel. Much easier just to see it all up here in front of you in one go, just to have all the engine and fuel data together in one place. I'm surrounded by a vast nothingness as well still at the moment. I don't feel, I've got to be honest, I don't feel too bad on this leg. I thought I would feel a lot more tired by now. I'm actually feeling pretty good, and I think I'll see how I feel when I get down to Tenant Creek. I've still got an hour and 45 minutes left to go, but I reckon I will push on and do the next leg to Katherine just to cap off the trip today. 3, 2, 1. That's 4 hours. 4 hours on this flight so far. We're about to start our descent in a couple of minutes' time as well. Hooray! Tenant Creek, okay, Zulu turning final runway 07, full stop, Tenant Creek.
I feel pretty good actually. I thought I'd feel a lot more tired after that long flight, but no, not too bad. Second stop of the day, another refueling stop. Another quick FBO tour, this time in the Northern Territory. This is the Tenant Creek terminal, I suppose you can call it. There is a company called Air North, this one behind me, that flies from here, but obviously there's no flights going from here at the moment because it's all closed up. Small terminal, but it's got a telly, plenty of seats. No vending machine though. I could do with like a cold water right now, but
of the local community by breaking down the culture of
Final flight of the day. It's so nice having the short flight at the end, so after the 3.5 and then the monster 4.5 hour flight, I've just levelled off in the cruise and we've only got an hour and a half to go until our destination. So nice when you got the short flight at the end. I really don't like it when you get the long flight at the end. On the ground at Tenant Creek, I met a guy called Chris. Thanks for saying hello, Chris. He flies in this area quite regularly and he helped me out with the procedures of getting into Tindal. That's what I love about aviation, is that it's a real family community feel. Now, everyone's got time for everyone else. If you ask a question, I've never met another pilot or another aviator who hasn't stopped and wanted to give across their knowledge to help another pilot. So thank you, Chris. I appreciate your tips for getting into Tindal. I'm looking forward to being my first time landing there. Yeah, 1 hour to go. 1 hour to go. Come on. Everything looks good. Our descent rate is looking good as well. Just got to ride the bumps now. Tindal traffic, Echo Yankee Zulu is joining downwind for runway 14, Tindal. Alright, 100 knots, speed is good. And we are 1,500, so that's good. Tindal traffic, Echo Yankee Zulu turning final, runway 14, full stop, Tindal. Extending the runway, looks like. To say that was a long day of flying would be a big understatement. Isn't it nice when your last landing's your best one?
Two things have happened since that last sequence of me landing in Katherine last night. The first one was I met another pilot called Chris, an awesome guy. Chris, if you're watching this, thank you so much. He helped me out with a taxi from here to the airport. It actually took us longer to get from the airport here to the hotel that I was staying in last night than it did to take me to fly here from Tenant Creek yesterday. The second thing that happened then after that was I got to the hotel room and just collapsed and fell straight asleep. But I'm awake, I feel refreshed, ready for the 60-minute hop now up to Darwin.
Okay, just a quick 40 minutes until we get to Darwin. Should be a pretty straightforward flight, although I can see a bit of weather building up ahead of me at the moment in Darwin, which is pretty typical, well, for Darwin.
Echo Yankee Zulu down, delivery score 4635.
4635, Echo Yankee Zulu.
Echo Yankee Zulu, contact approach 125.2.
1252, Echo Yankee Zulu. Darwin approach, Echo Yankee Zulu is just approaching Manton Dam, tracking for Channel Islands 6,500.
Echo Yankee Zulu, down approach. Echo Yankee Zulu, cleared visual approach via Channel Islands, straight in runway 3610 miles, contact tower 133.1.
Cleared visual approach via Channel Islands, straight in for runway 36 and 133.1 at 10 miles, Echo Yankee Zulu.
Echo Yankee Zulu, runway 36, clear to land.
Runway 36, clear to land, Echo Yankee Zulu. Oh, good morning, Jess. My name's Stefan in Echo Yankee Zulu. I've just landed at Darwin and just want to know whereabouts you're located. Okay, alright, I'm around the wrong side of the airport, so I'll come round there in a second. See you soon, bye. Darwin ground, Echo Yankee Zulu at the wrong Pearl Aviation. Request taxi to Uniform 2.
Echo Yankee Charlie Roger, you can taxi back down, taxiway Victor, then to left on Zulu.
Victor, left on Zulu. Thanks, Echo Yankee Zulu.
Do we look like aircrew? And we're in East Timor. Echo Yankee Zulu has a new home. And it appears that immigration has gone to lunch because we were actually supposed to land here at 12:30